Gentle ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Mansa Jamel with the AI Global Legends, and I hope you guys are having a great day on this great Tuesday. I know it's a lot of, bad weather going around the world, but guess what? We're here, thankful and grateful. We're showing up to grow up. We're getting ready to learn about an opportunity that's taking the blockchain space by storm, guys. And when I say by storm, I mean by storm in this weather right now that we're having across the globe, guys. So I'm excited about this. You guys know my backdrop. I've been in the crypto space since 2015, and I got a chance to get into Bitcoin at $1.30 and $130. I'm sorry, $1.30. That was my little brother, right? So anyways, $130, guys. I just rode that wave and kept accumulating crypto and started learning the ins and outs of this space, and bumped my heads a few times, and also learned a lot in this space, guys, and helped a lot of people reach 6 and 7 figures in this industry globally. Okay, I traveled around the world, but guys, this is not about me. This is about you guys. This is about also Travis, our special guest tonight, guys, a #1 income earner in this company. This guy has broken a lot of records. I've seen him on Business from Home. He actually, when I watched your video, Travis, that's the one that really got me excited about joining this. And I tell people, I said, you know what? This is the kind of debt you want to get in. Okay, commodity-backed crypto. Being a part of something that's at its infancy stage, seeing something that's got real backing, because guess what? Every time you bring somebody into the crypto space, they always ask the same question. What is it backed by, right? What's behind it? And now you really got something that they can relate to and say commodities, oil, gas, stuff in this nature, So I'm excited about this project. Like I said, this is the kind of debt you guys want to get into. And without any further ado, I want to introduce you guys to Travis Flaherty. Travis, how you doing? And welcome to the Legend Show.
Man, it's a good day to have a good day, and it is a pleasure and a privilege to be here. I'm really excited to join the crew tonight, and just excited about everything that we have going on, man. I've been just going all day, and it's an exciting time.
Absolutely. Travis, I know you've been in this space for some time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into the meat and potatoes? Why don't you let the legends know your little backdrop about yourself? How about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, I'm a family first guy. I'm married 23 years, 6 kids, big family. Always start with yeah.
Hey, you know what? We're tied up. Man. I got 6, you got 6, man. So that's another thing common. Let's go.
Listen, I always say I've got duplication down to a science.
There you go. I always say that I never had Comcast cable.
I love it. Got no time for cable.
Right.
I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I was actually chatting with somebody about this today. I was trying to think back to kind of where my first entrepreneurial vision or business started, and I actually can go back to when I was 12 years old. You remember in the old days they would sell, and they still do occasionally, a bucket, and inside of the bucket there'd be a sponge and some soap and some things that was like a car wash, like little bucket kit that you could buy. And I remember buying one for like $10, and I spent all day, and I wrote this a cool little a lightning bolt on the side of it, and then I put JLT car washers on it, and that stood for Jason, Lance, and Travis, my partners. And we would go door to door, and we would wash people's cars. And I share that because I've always had this mindset of, why would I let somebody else pay me hourly while I'm building their future, sometimes at the expense of my own. I've always just kind of had that mindset of being an entrepreneur. So I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've done a lot of different businesses over my lifetime, everything from owning health clubs. But I've been involved in the direct sales industry now for 18 years, both as a distributor and a consultant for the last decade as well. And love what I do. It gives me the time freedom to be able to do the things I want to do rather than the things that I have to do.
Wow, that's powerful. When did you break into the blockchain space?
2016, I started getting involved, and We were having a nice little run there in 2017. I was mining Ethereum when it was, you know, $70, $80, $90 per token and the coin, and started going up from there. So it was a good time to get involved. And then if you remember, 2018 came along, and Bitcoin went from 18,000 to 3,000. Ethereum lost 94% of its value. And all of the naysayers came running in. You know, I told you so. I told you that it didn't have any real value. And, you know, the FUD was out there everywhere. It's always funny to me how when crypto drops, you see all the armchair scholars and the haters on social media. They're like, oh, where are all those Bitcoin people at now? And
right. Where you
and
guys
so
hiding at?
and I was one of the guys that was out there, and I was sharing the same message then that I'm sharing now, which is the decisions that you make in a down market and the tokens that you accumulate during that same period of time can truly build you true wealth over the next 3 to 5 years. And I kid you not, I had people coming at me with hate. You know, they were saying, you know, you've got a following. How irresponsible of you to go tell people to buy crypto after this happened. And you know, what was it? 18 months later, Bitcoin went to 69,000. So,
boom. Yeah, right when they hit that, that's when all the guys want to jump in. They want to get in at the top now, you know.
Yeah.
It's crazy how that mindset turns, right? When you're supposed to get in at the bottom of the market and ride the wave up versus going at the top and, you know, ride the wave back down, you know.
It baffles me.
Awesome.
It's baffling to me to see, you know, when Bitcoin's at 69 and everything's skyrocketing, the FOMO and how many people are just jumping in. And then when where we are now, and it's like, you know, people don't understand the concept of, you know, as Warren Buffett says, buying when there's blood in the streets, right? And so I am just excited this time around to be in a position to be able to take advantage of it a little bit more. I wasn't as much in a position back then to do so. And I wish I could have bought 100 Bitcoin in 2018. I would have if I could have. So it's an exciting time to be a part of crypto, and there's just so many incredible things that are happening, and we're leading the charge, raising the bar with Deadbox.
Raising the bar. Awesome. Guys, did you hear that? Raising the bar and leading the charge. So let me ask you this, Travis, why Deadbox? What really attracted you to Deadbox?
Well, first you have to look at what's going on in the world today. I mean, we you know, people we kind of just get into the monotony of doing our day to day, and we tend to not necessarily think about all the things that are going on around us. It's kind of hard to ignore, at least, you know, the fact that eggs are $6, $7, $8 a dozen now, and gas prices are where they are. So people are definitely feeling the pinch, and you know, they think, okay, inflation, but it really goes much deeper than that. You know, you really have to understand that we are literally getting wrecked right now by our entire monetary system, and it comes from the Federal Reserve all the way down. And while we're working hard to go out and save money, you know, the banks are printing it, and they're literally ruining your savings. And I'm going to tell you guys this right now: you cannot outsave the devaluing of the dollar and what is currently happening with the rising cost of goods and inflation. And this old model, I always say old ways won't open new doors. This old model of, you know, our parents used to, you know, the philosophy was take a little bit of your money and just put it away in the 401k in the stock market over 30, 40 years, and you'll be able to retire. Well, you know, the people that did that, you know, $9 trillion was wiped out of the stock market just last year. And what people don't understand is the baby boomers, which largely were fueling and contributing to the stock market, are getting older, and there's not as many children that are being born in that next generation. And then you look at, you know, our 20, 30 somethings now, they're not putting their money in the stock market. You know, my son's 23 years old. He says, Dad, you know, he kind of jokes, and you guys have maybe, somebody's heard me say this before, but he calls me a boomer, and kind of drives me crazy when he does it. But he calls me a boomer. He says, Dad, you represent fiat currency. And I represent digital currency. And their generation, my son does not, Mansa, he doesn't deal with going to the banks, or I don't even know if he's at the last few years, if he's gone into a bank. He holds his money in USDT. He holds his assets in cryptocurrency. And so you think about that and you think, okay, you've got less money going into the stock market. overall, times are changing. And if we don't adapt, if we fail to adapt and we fail to innovate, we're going to continue to see people struggling and suffering. And so you can't outsave inflation. You only have so many hours in the day that you can work. So what can you do about it? Well, you can play the game of the banks, right? You can play the game of the banks, besides printing money, which the banks just do willingly, right? They just, whenever the Federal Reserve wants to print money, they do. You can invest in income producing assets the same way the banks do with your money. Because when you deposit money, that's what they're doing, is taking your money and they're investing it in assets that make money work for them. And you could not convince me that, these wallets that are undisclosed, that hold, we're talking hundreds of millions and even billions of Bitcoin and some of these others, you couldn't tell me that the people behind the Federal Reserve and the people behind, that are controlling and manipulating our dollar, and you can't tell me that they don't know what they're doing, and that those are not some of the biggest wallets out there. And so why DebtBox? I know it's a long answer, but the reason for me is I look at DebtBox as a solution. I look at DebtBox as it's doing two things. Number one is it's giving the average person an ability to be able to put their money to work for them. And number two, we're bringing real world value to the cryptocurrency space. Right. I think that people are tired of you look at our last bull run, it was full of meme coins and pump and dump coins and coins that literally had no intrinsic value. And I'm just going to tell you guys that a true asset should not fluctuate 80 to 90% just because Elon Musk tweets about it. It just shouldn't.
Right.
and so for me, when I looked at DebtBox, I look at the fact that they're bringing these projects that are actually backed by these real world commodities that are in high demand, and commodities. I mean, I've been to Africa. I've been to the oil rigs all over the United States. I've witnessed the oil in the ground. I've dug gold in the gold mines in Africa.
Right.
I've seen the backing. And so right now the world has about 4% of the population that has a cryptocurrency wallet, some 300 something million people. It's projected to grow to 10% over the next 12 to 24 months. So I ask myself, what is going to be the catalyst that moves that needle from the 4% to the 10%? And the answer to that question is it's replacing hype with substance. It's replacing speculation with tangibility. And that is exactly what DebtBox is doing. And so when I say we're raising the bar in this space, that's exactly what we're doing. And so many people are looking for places to put their money right now. And I'm just telling you, old ways won't open new doors. And we're at least giving people additional options in their life.
Right. Right. That's powerful right there. So you said that you went to Africa, you seen the oil in the ground, you dug some gold up. What was that experience like? I mean, that's amazing.
So the first site that I visited was Nebraska. And, in Nebraska, we have this farm that it's 5,000 acres of farmland. And when we were driving there, man, I'm just driving and I'm like, where are we? I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere, right? And so all of a sudden we're driving on a dirt road. There's a kind of a convoy of 3 cars, and I look off and I see this American flag up on top of a hill, and that's all I could see. And as you got a little closer, you started to see the top of the oil rig, and it looked kind of small to me. And then as we kind of get closer, it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we pulled up, I remember thinking, this is huge. And as we were there and we learned about this particular project, Mr. Moody, the guy that owns the farmland, he knew there was oil on this property. He's for the soil samples confirmed there was oil on his property. He had partnered with 2 previous exploratory companies and funded them coming in and essentially drilling. And they drilled empty hole after empty hole after empty hole. They could not find the oil with their seismic readings that they've used. So he called us and he said, will you come scan my land? I need your technology. So we did. And we found 17 targets on this particular site. And we started with the largest one. And we told him that he would hit his first payload at 7,460 feet. And I kid you not, at 7,460, we struck oil. And I was there the day after we struck it. And since then, the bigger chamber was down at about 9,100 feet. And so they bring in one of the biggest rigs in the country to be able to get to some of the depths now that they're drilling. but they now have found a chamber of 1,600 acres of oil and gas. Just the natural gas alone is valued at
Oh my gosh,
$1.7 trillion just on this one property. So to be able to see that, it's one thing when you talk about things, I'm a big trust but verify kind of guy. Right. So with all the crypto projects and all the, the what we're going to do's that are thrown around, for me to be able to see that oil and see this operation, that was something. And then going to Africa and experiencing, we went into these villages and we went into the farmland where a lot of the farms that support grow soybeans, cocoa beans, and to see these farmers out there. And we went into one village and we met with a chief while we were there just to pay him respects that we were there.
Right.
These chiefs are over, it's their job and responsibility to take care of their people. And so we went in and to see him, and he said, and you can't talk directly to him. You talk through, he always sits higher up than everybody else. And, you talk to his representatives. And so he says something to the guy, and the guy translates, and he says, he wants you to know that what you guys are doing here is absolutely life-changing to our people. And he wants to donate and give you more land because of the impact that you're having. It gives me goosebumps because to that point, we've been talking about high yielding agriculture, but to see the humanitarian side firsthand and to understand that these projects that we're essentially making possible are feeding villages and they are creating jobs. And it was just, it was a life-changing experience. And, the next day we go up to the gold mines we literally get on a plane, fly to some small city in Ghana. Uh-huh. We drive 3 hours on a bus on the bumpiest road you could ever possibly imagine, where you think at a certain point, am I going to get out of it? Like, you don't even know where you're going. We're in the middle of a jungle and we end up in this gold concession and we get out, bus gets stuck in the mud. We hike a mile and all of a sudden we start seeing people panning for gold. A little bit higher up, we see people, they have rock crushers that are coming down, and then you get up a little higher and then you see some more sophisticated equipment. And they say to us, these are all illegal miners. And I said, well, why do you let them mine? And he says, well, these are the local villagers and this allows them, this takes care of them. One little nugget will feed a village for a month. And he said, so we allow that because they don't have the equipment to get down to where the real supplies of gold are. And so again, indirectly, we're making a difference in these villages, and they celebrate us when we come in because of what we do and the fact that we now provide this. We're talking 100,000 acre concessions of gold land. And so I literally got in the pit with a pick and was digging in the ground. And it was, I'm telling you, I just had a surreal moment where I said, how did I get here? I'm in the middle of a jungle in the middle of Africa mining for gold. It was a pretty amazing experience. Wow, man, I should have made that trip. That would have been an amazing trip, amazing experience for me as well. So I'm glad you're able to share that with us, man, because that, like you said, it brings goosebumps to you. Same for me, right when you started this. So I'm excited about that part. So how about this, Travis? Why don't you, talk a little bit about, IX Global and, some of the highlights of the project right now. Yeah, so IX Global is... You want to? What was that? If you want to share your screen, you can. You know what? If I have that option, I may do that. I'm just going to start chatting a little bit. We'll see where it takes us. But IX Global is a company that's 2.5 years old, and they founded obviously by Joe Martinez. Joe, I like Joe. I've known Joe for about 8-9 years in the industry. We've never worked directly together, but I've always respected his work ethic and what he's accomplished. He started the company out of necessity. A lot of people don't know this, but he started it with $6,000 in his pocket. He did so because of a previous company. Sometimes these owners make decisions that can impact our livelihood. And he was, if you're in this industry long enough, you'll experience that. And it's tough. And so he ultimately started the company. The first place that he opened was India, which is completely out of the ordinary. He had a leader there that, up and coming leader, hadn't made more than 10 grand a month, but he believed in him. And he launched the Indian market. That leader's name was Viraj Patel, by the way. And this was only a couple of years ago. Some of you might know that Viraj is now the #1 earner in the entire world of network marketing, making $1.4 million a month here.
Oh my gosh!
So he launched a educational platform that was focused around Forex and crypto and NFT education and leadership development. And they did well. I mean, not only did he have $6,000 in his pocket, but he launched right when COVID hit. So, it wasn't the easiest and best time to launch a company, but they made it through. And second year, they did 20 million in sales, which is very respectable for a up-and-coming company. But they had a relationship with the guys that owned the debt box. The debt box, by the way, is 15 years in the making, 15 years of relationships and in the mining business, developing the trust of the local leaders, eventually the royalty, eventually the king, and now the president. While I was there, we were actually invited to go to the president's palace and meet with the actual president of Ghana. So they 15 years of work, and it just so happens that Joe, they had a relationship with these guys, and they formed a partnership, IX becoming the wholesale exclusive partner for the debt box. And we're the only ones in the direct sales industry that have access to the debt box licenses. We're not the same company. And guys, this is very important. There is a line of separation. There's a lot of companies that have come into the direct sales space. I don't have to say the names, but this coin, that coin, you guys that are no longer around, and they claim that they're mining. And what's really happening is the money coming in the door, they use that, and we call it spreadsheet mining. They just keep track of everybody, and they pay out, kind of what they think you should be making. And as long as there's new people coming in, they can keep paying. Well, eventually that fails, right? It's a pyramid scheme. And we've seen many of these fold. And so one of the things that gave me, Mansa, really good peace of mind was that Debtbox does their thing. IX does their thing. We stay in our lane. We buy these licenses at wholesale. It allows us to control the price points and cater to our market. Debtbox does what they do best, which is scan technology on the physical side, and then they run their digital side of their company and they balance it. And there's a complete line of separation. The money is never colluded. They're two totally separate entities. We do not sell crypto. We do not sell ROIs, which actually are illegal. What we do is we provide hardware and software that allows people to mine these projects that are backed by real world commodities that are in high demand. And I think that's important. And so IX Global, third year, just did 206 million in sales. We are now the #1 momentum company in the entire world in the direct sales industry. Guys, 200 million, that puts us probably among the top 50 companies in the entire world in network marketing in year 3. And to put this into perspective, we just introduced the X nodes in July. We are now doing about $3 million a day in revenue, and it's just the beginning. We're just getting started. So we are in a very, very sweet spot right now.
Just getting started. 200 million. If you guys, can you fathom 200 million in 3 years? That is crazy. Wow. If you guys love that, go ahead and put 111 in the chat. 111 in the chat if you feel that. Absolutely. This is amazing right there. So, yeah, people saying, yeah, 111 is okay. Absolutely. Yeah, so that was one of the things here, man. When I seen that, I was like, oh my gosh, in the next 90 days, this thing could really go viral, because I don't think it's really hit viral or momentum yet. We're still like in the basement right now.
Every company has 3 stages. Every successful, let's call it billion-dollar company, or the big boys of the industry that we all know, they go through a few stages. The first stage is kind of the inception and the launch stage. And I call that the jungle tour. The jungle tour is where, Mansa, imagine that we're going out and we're going into the jungle and there's no path. And so we have to clear the path. We've got our machetes. It's rough. You're clearing the terrain. You're dealing with, all kinds of deadly animals, whatever, right? It's a difficult thing to do. And then eventually
tigers coming at you, all that good stuff.
All that stuff. And then you come up to eventually a dirt road where you get a little bit of a clearing. There's potholes and there's still some challenges. And then eventually you get to the point where you hit a super highway and you just go. Well, I don't think we're in the jungle tour anymore. I think that Joe and those guys have done a great job of pioneering. We are exiting the jungle tour though, because even though we're a 2.5-year-old company, these X nodes and the technology of marrying two companies together, it's a lot. And there's still, there's little kinks in the road, little bugs here and there and things. And people have to understand that is the pioneers are who they write about in the history books. The people that are still joining IX right now are the pioneers. We're even though we're a 2.5-year-old company, Xnode is the story, and that's 5 months old. And so, I would say that we're maybe getting to the point where we're getting close to hitting that dirt road. I think the next 12 months is going to be incredible. And I think that the people that are, as we go into momentum now, momentum is the great exaggerator. John Maxwell refers to it as the great exaggerator. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary, and it'll amplify anything. If you're just in that circumstance, you can accomplish in 6 to 12 months what it would take you 3 to 5 years to accomplish in any other company. I've experienced it before a few times, and there's nothing like it. And so I think that this year is going to be the year that we hit momentum, the year that we kind of exit that jungle tour, we get into the dirt road. I think probably the people that come 2 to 3 years from now are going to say, man, I sure wish I was there in 2023.
Wow. So that's huge right there, because, right now the price points is everything. Like Nat G, for instance, 3 zeros in a 3 or 3 zeros in a 2.9. I mean, I've been loading up on those licenses. I bought a bunch of those rentals and a bunch of those, the perpetual licenses. That was my first thing when I jumped in. I seen that. I said, okay, it's time to load up. And then the black gold was gone, right? The grow, I jumped in heavy on grow, and grow went to, was it grow? I think it was grow. Grow went to $1.12.
Yeah.
I think I got it at 35 cents.
Grow's the Cinderella story, man. Ricardo, my friend Ricardo, always says that nobody wanted to take, calls it a Cinderella story. Nobody wanted to take Cinderella to the ball because Grow came out about the time that Nat G came out, and of course oil had just had this tremendous success. So naturally, everybody was jumping into the natural gas, and Grow was kind of over here, high yielding agriculture. It sounded cool, but people didn't really understand it. And that license price stayed down while, the other licenses were shooting up because of how many that were selling. And all of a sudden, I remember one day, everyone's like, what the heck's going on with Grow? Like, it just started taking off. And it's funny because then all of a sudden Grow licenses started going like crazy, when people saw what was happening with that. So I'll tell you, I'm a big Nat G fan. People don't understand it's a little bit more of a longer term project, but the potential, I call that our, the best, in my opinion, and I'm not a financial advisor, that's my disclaimer. I think it is our best accumulation project that we have because of the amount of tokens that you can accumulate. People are like, well, it's not shooting up, the way Grow did yet, or this or that. What people have to understand is Nat G, it takes, once you tap into natural gas and our natural gas reserves, especially in some of these bigger sites, they're 17,000 feet down. So it takes a long time to get down. Then you tap it, and then you have to actually build legally a casing. And in some cases, you have to build pipelines. So it takes quite a bit of time to get to the point where it's actually flowing and we're starting to see the kind of burns that we have happening. There's going to be an announcement this weekend, and I won't say the number, but I will say this. There are an enormous amount of oil and gas partners that are already signed, that are already drilling and selling, that we just signed the deal on. I'm not talking just tens or dozens, more than that are coming on just in 2023, which will instantly have an impact on our overall burns. And as we approach that next halving, the people that were involved in Nat G and accumulated over the next year, just my opinion, are going to be very, very thankful that they accumulated those coins before the next halving. So, again, it's not about price right now, especially it's about accumulation. There's a big difference.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking like when I first got, I was getting about 15,000 coins per cycle, per one. And it's still right there, right around there, 14, 15 right there. So yeah, that was, brain boggling to me. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And then we got some new projects coming out too, what do you like most about Blocks?
So Blocks is interesting. It's a realist. These guys, they really are innovative. I mean, they're doing things that nobody else has done. They're doing things that it's never been done before in the cryptocurrency space, right? Talk about being a pioneer. And that excites me. Blocks is a real estate lending platform that essentially, if we invest into it by being a token holder, if we choose to be a long-term holder, we have the ability for our money to essentially be invested into real estate. And that real estate is obviously there's the same kind of conforming lending rules that would apply. It's not high risk lending, but as they invest in real estate, that creates a tremendous amount of royalty income that's coming in. And so they're monetizing essentially this entire lending platform that's being funded essentially by these portfolio holders. And there's a great opportunity with that. Again, it's never been done before. It allows us to be able to get into something again that's tangible. And I think that there's a tremendous opportunity there. I do believe that there's a staking opportunity there for those that want to be a little bit more long-term. You can earn a little bit more. And Michelle, I do want you to know that NatG, although it's gone, the rentals are available. And you guys should know that, you just touched on it, Mansa, 15,000 tokens a day. Guys, you can go rent 10 NatG licenses for $2,500. I want you to think about this for a moment. That's 150,000 tokens a day that you're accumulating over a period of 60 days. You guys can do the math on that. That's somewhere in the neighborhood of what, 6 million tokens now? Is that right? Something like that? I don't know. My math's probably out. No, it's probably about, something like that. Maybe you're 3 or 4. I don't know. It's a lot. And so you can do that in a 60-day period. So you can still get involved in the NatG side of things, but that real estate, I'm excited about it. I feel good about that. This whole Bev project,
beverage, right? Beverage.
Yeah. So Bev is, I can't spill all the beans for this weekend, but I can tell you that they have acquired a very, very large beverage distribution company that's in the United States that produces a lot of different beverages that we drink all the time, every day. So whether it's beer, there's a lot of different, and I want you to imagine this for a moment. Imagine you now being involved in a project, and every time that the barcode is scanned with these drinks at places like Walmart, Target, Kroger's, companies that you guys know very well, royalties are now going to be paid to that particular token. And we now have the ability to be able to say that we now, all our products are now in Walmart. Our products are now in some of these major, very well-known, very credible places. That gives you a really good hint of what's coming with Bev.
You didn't open the door, crack the door a little bit. Yeah. That's exciting news right there, guys. And wow, that could be big. That could be real big. Didn't they have another one called Drip? What's the difference between Drip and Bev?
So Drip is, we found recently, and I say recently in the last year, we found one of the largest underground reservoirs, aqueducts, bodies of water in the United States in the last 50 years. You guys know how precious water is with there's worldwide drought, right? And it's worse than I think we think. It's pretty bad. And then of course you look at these from a humanitarian standpoint in some of these third world countries, when you go into these villages and you see, firsthand how they live, a lot of them have to go a mile down to the water source and bring that water back up. And so being able to direct water to these villages is amazing. So Drip is actually identifying water sources underground that can be utilized in many different ways, from a humanitarian standpoint to solving some of the biggest challenges that we faced in areas like California or some areas like that. And so Drip on that side is more related to the actual water itself. I think that we'll see Drip probably appear somewhere around the second quarter is kind of the internal dialogue right now. But I got to tell you, I'm really excited about that project. But Bev is more related to every single time that, somebody scans one of these barcodes that's produced by this major distribution company that we've now acquired, that will put us, that puts us into a position where there's a royalty paid off of every time one of those barcodes is scanned, and that royalty revenue comes right back into the ecosystem, the same way those deflationary mechanisms take place on all of the other projects.
Wow, that's amazing right there.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear more about that in Salt Lake City. I will join you there, actually.
Good. I look forward to meeting you, brother.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's open it up for the team here. We got a few people that's hitting up with some different questions and stuff. If you guys got questions and want to come on the panel here, put 777 in the chat, and we'll go ahead and bring you up on the panel. Let's start with the ones that have their cameras on first. How about that? 777 in the chat. Don't be shy, guys. All right, Michael Diamond, what's up, my friend? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Mr. Diamond, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing blessed and highly favored. Thank you for asking, Mansa. How about yourself, sir?
Unbelievable, unbelievable. Thank you for coming and joining us.
Fantastic. It's been a treat. It's been a treat. Thank you so much for your time. So glad to hear that both of you guys have been baby factories for a long time, man. That's great.
That's right.
I've got 4 myself and 8 grandkids. So yes. That is the true wealth of life. I love when you said the duplication. You've been into duplication for quite some time.
Right.
That's great. Well, there's no real retirement unless you've got duplication, unless you have a successor. So that's great. That's really great. I love your presence. I love the calmness and the confidence in which you articulate your position. Gives me a real sense of confidence that you've done quite a bit of due diligence with this company and that you feel comfortable. And I can see underneath the conversation that you've taken your bruises down the road. And so, yeah, there's a sense of real comfort that you've had a chance to vet this company. From someone, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just want to say thank you. I appreciate, and the fact that you recognize that is actually really appreciative, because we have taken our bruises, and you can bet that we looked under the hood here quite a bit. So I appreciate that.
Yes, that's fantastic. And, I love the stories. As Mansa was saying, you just get those warm fuzzies when you've got that tangibility and you go to the mining, the flag that started out little and got bigger and bigger and bigger. And once you got on top of the mountain, when you have the privilege to actually go to these locations, it really creates a level of confidence that's beyond articulation with words. You really get a sense of confidence. Having acquired my bruises down the road, it's easier for me to recognize the bruises that go along with success. In fact, true success really isn't appreciated, in my opinion, unless you've had some bruises. I love the marriage you talk about with debt and with the existing company. What's in place to assure that relationship won't be interrupted, if that makes sense?
Oh, there we go. It's a really good question. And that was actually one of the first things that I asked Jason when my wife and we sat in Jason's living room. And I just said, what's this partnership look like? And so at that time, it was a relatively new partnership. Jason had given Joe an opportunity to be able to prove himself and had set kind of some parameters as far as how many licenses need to be moved in a 60-day period, and just to kind of test it out. And Joe and IX had met that limit within the first week. And so Jason was pretty happy about that. And so as it's progressed, and I've watched these guys kind of grow together and have growing pains together, because there's two, again, the technology and marrying the technology. They just invited Joe to the Debt Council, which is something that is a privilege, right? Joe now has a stake, not as an owner, but in the decisions that are made on the debt side. That's the level of respect that they have for Joe. And that may be announced this weekend. So the contracts have now been extended far beyond just, the initial 60 days, and then it was a 1 year. Jason recently said to me in Africa when we were on one of those buses, Travis, I asked this question again. I said, are you happy with IX? He says, Travis, we've invested millions of dollars in infrastructure to be able to make this work with IX. And I could never imagine wanting to do that again with another company. And that gave me a lot of assurances that this is a long-term type of relationship.
Excellent, excellent. With the technology that they have, thank you for sharing that, because that would be a concern, I'm sure, for any vigilant-minded person who's looking at this relationship to say, what if there was a divorce in that relationship? Now you've got this tremendous sales force, but you don't have the true commodity. And that marriage is super important for longevity, for bringing in massive teams, I would say. Secondly, is there an exclusivity, or is that market open for others to come in with that same technology? And is the potential there for that field, that lane, to get over flooded to where now it smallens or shortens the lane and the possibility of growth? I mean, is that something that has been thought about in terms of foresight? And what have you guys done to say, okay, we're creating a lane for ourselves that regardless of how many players come in, we've got a safe lane?
So it's not so much, so first of all, let's talk about the technology. It's not so much the scanning that we do that is proprietary. There is one other outfit that I believe is in somewhere around, I think it's Turkey or somewhere in Europe, that has similar technology. We do use Google Earth satellites to run our scans, and we read frequency. So every mineral on the element chart has a different frequency. Gold has a different frequency than aluminum, per se. And so we pick up on those frequencies. Similar to an MRI would be a good way to explain the technology. But it's still not 100% accurate to the level. There's still quite a bit of investigating and things that can go wrong, knowing where to go into a chamber to maximize the extraction process. It took 5 years of us doing scans, then going out, sending teams out, and then readjusting and recalculating. And we actually built algorithms that they're so accurate that we can get to within 6 centimeters in the ground. Those algorithms that we use are what is truly the proprietary side of what we do. There is one other outfit that does something similar. One thing that we are, first of all, we're always with technology. You have to continue to improve on your technology. So as of sooner than people think, you guys have already heard in presentation, so I can share this, that we are launching a satellite into space in this coming year. What if it wasn't just one satellite or 2 or 3? Maybe it was more than that. And what if it was going to happen in the next 90 days? And we were now able to accommodate a much larger volume of scanning that we're doing. And what if we were now able to go from 2D to 3D, and we can render now, and some of you guys have seen the leaked 3D videos that were introduced last on the 17th of December, which Jason gave me permission to leak that. What if we now had technology that could do that? Now we are proprietary. Now, what if we partnered with a $1 billion, very well-known entity that in the coming weeks is going to release their own press release that they partnered with us, which would give us even more credibility, that all of their satellites are going to contain all of our technology so that we can go out and do this 3D imaging. So, what I can tell you is that the initial proprietary technology that we had wasn't so much the scans that's part of it, but it's the work that goes in behind it and the algorithms that are in place. But what's coming in 2023, guys, and by the way, everything I just explained falls under the Explorer project. So it's XPLR, yep. So it's very exciting stuff to continue to advance the proprietary side of what we're doing. And just so you guys know the demands, we no longer have the ability to work with farmers, or smaller companies. We now are signing contracts with countries. We just signed a contract with the Sheikh of Dubai. We have Argentina reaching out. We just signed a contract with Ghana. While I was there, I met with the foreign minister of oil and gas that showed a $65 million contract that they just signed with us for a particular project that they're working on. So we're at a point where we couldn't even accommodate. I have people every week call me now and say, Travis, I've got an uncle or somebody that owns a mine here, or, they own this copper, this here. We don't have the ability to be able to facilitate the amount of people that are reaching out to us. And so hopefully the newer satellites are going to give us a much more bandwidth to be able to accommodate.
That's fantastic. That's important to know, that your proprietary experience you have such a curve now that if someone were to develop and reach a certain level, it would take that 5 to 7 or 10 year period for them to catch where you are. Am I getting that accurate?
100%. And again, keep in mind, guys, we have teams that are dedicated to going out just on grow. There's an entire team that goes out and works with farmers to help them to become carbon certified. Why do we do that? Because it's essentially free money to the farmer. Who buys carbon credits? Oil companies. Well, do we have the ability to tell the oil companies if they want to use our technology where they need to buy their carbon credits? Well, that funds your grow project, right? So there's just so much, it's so much more than just the technology. It's the relationships and the infrastructure around the world that makes this possible. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that there won't ever be competition, but competition drives innovation, and that's a good thing, a healthy thing. But to say that,
absolutely,
we're going to be, we're so far light years ahead of anybody that's even close to what we're doing.
Excellent. I want to say, and I don't want to hog the whole floor, but I had quite a bit because Mansa's been working on me, and I get real passionate when it comes to building teams and families. And I will go back quickly. This technology I first got exposed to on Ancient Aliens, because they were using this technology to discover lost worlds, lost continents, lost, underground pyramids, pyramids that are underwater. And so
shipwrecks.
Yeah, and I could tell you have a little ancient alien in you, so I was concerned.
A little bit of ancient, that's it, just a little bit.
You have a little alien.
Anyway, I will say this though, and I say that as a compliment because it takes brilliance to be able to tap into your real genius to bring it to a level where you can actually be an entrepreneur at spirit and be an adventurer and not be among the pack. I feel that what keeps people trapped in their mediocrity is the mindset of indoctrination. And as long as you're indoctrinated, you will not look outside the box. You won't take risks. And opening that last statement about risk, I've got some bruises on me that are still in the process of healing. I had a team that took a beating from a company that I don't need to name, but I'm sure you probably heard of them. And I had a team of people that, oh gosh, close friends that lost, money. And so this is so refreshing to hear about a product that has commodity backed, cryptocurrency that's commodity backed. I didn't know any better. I was just enthusiastic and excited and really hadn't fully done my due diligence. So I take full responsibility for their loss, even though they came in oftentimes, and I can see you've had some similar experiences where people come in on your credibility and they're like, well, if Diamond's doing it, it's a great thing. Let's get involved. Here's 20, 30, 50. And then when it doesn't work out that well, you kind of look and say, hey, you had a responsibility, but inside they did it because of you, And so go ahead. I want you to talk about that because I see it.
Yeah, I was involved in an opportunity in 16, 17, and it was a mining deal. And it when everything dropped in 18, they experienced something similar. And then as things unraveled, you started to see what was really happening behind the scenes. And it was really difficult and humbling. And so it's actually led me to a place now where I promote differently. And I hope in hopefully you guys sense this. There's no hype in what I'm sharing with you. I'm doing my best to educate, and I do my best to provide options so that people can make well-informed decisions. Is there risk here? Yes, there is. You guys need to know there's risk. There's risk in taking action here. There's risk in not taking action here, right? The people that chose not to get involved in debt a year ago, they're probably kicking themselves today when it's sitting at $30 a coin, right? So there's risk in the stock market right now that just lost $9 trillion. But what I love the most about this, and I hope that you guys really sincerely hear this and feel this, there is no need for hype here. There is no need to overpromise. There is no need to set false expectations. The truth is good enough. And I believe that we have a strong enough backing and opportunity and foundation to be able to go and do that. And so I'm a little bit more cautious when I do talk with anybody really, and just say, look, you need to know there's risk and you need to know what you're getting into, but I've put my hard-earned money in here too because I believe in it. And so, that's what I would share with that.
When you talk about risk, and I'll kind of open the floor because I've got sort of a portfolio here of questions, but when you talk about risk, could you elaborate on, with you being so close to the epicenter of this organization, which it's very comforting to hear you articulate your exposure to the epicenter of relationships, Ghana, going these different places, shaking hands, kissing babies, patting butts. Can you talk about what you would perceive as some of potential risk, if you will? Because it sounds so attractive. The risk sort of disappear for go-getters. They smell blood, they taste blood in the water, and sometimes we just kind of risk. Who gives it? Let's get. As a shark, you just like, I taste blood. You kind of lose focus of risk. Are there any that you would elaborate in an inner circle that could then be digested to communicate to incoming people? Or how would you share that?
Hold on. Yeah, unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay, there we go. I think that some risks that I think about are regulation. We're in a gray area in the sense that this has never been done before. On the network marketing side, there have been so many bad actors that you have regulatory agencies that are definitely eyeballing what we're doing. So it's so important that we're not going out and talking about ROIs, and we're not over exaggerating for those reasons, that we are keeping that line of separation and protecting the house, so to speak. So I do think that there's risk associated with that. I'm just one of these disruptors that believes that you can do it right, and we can go out and show people that it can be done the right way. And I think DebtBox is the company that can help us do that. So I do think that is one side of the risk factor. I think the other side is, but the cool thing about that risk is it's negated by the fact that even if something happened to IX, your licenses and smart contracts are with DebtBox, totally separate company, and that's going to continue on, right? It's not like if this company goes down, everything is gone. So that negates that risk to a certain extent. The other side is the regulatory agencies of cryptocurrency as a whole. And people ask me all the time, are you concerned about that? And I say, I am to a certain extent, but I think on both sides of the politics, doesn't matter what side you fall, they both recognize that blockchain is integrated so far now into every facet of our business, and it's progressed so far that it would be devastating to kill it. And they know that over-regulation will kill it. But what does need to happen is regulation at the exchange level, right? Regulation, yes, where they're validating and the assets that are in place, or they claim that are in place where we are putting our money. So I think regulation to a certain extent is actually a good thing. But those are probably the biggest risks. With regards to the company, all the traditional risks that are in place with any company that's going from 20 to 200 to $1 billion, right? Infrastructure, customer support, can we maintain and handle? There's no question that we experience some challenges there. And when people complain to me about that, I let them know, while I understand your frustration, you also have to understand the opportunity and where you are right now, because 6 months, a year from now, when we're on a superhighway, we'll have that resolved, but the opportunity won't be the same. I've never been Kevin Lappin right now, and he would validate this. I've never been in a company that goes into momentum that hasn't experienced those growing pains. And so we do have to understand that. Your job as a professional is to set the right expectation with your people coming in the door right from the very beginning. And I have found that if you set the right expectations, then they're not surprised if there's a little hiccup and it takes an extra day or two to get their license on or something like that.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for answering those questions. Great job. Thank you for your time. I will say in closing that what's happening in Congress, we've got a bit of a debauchery going on now with the change of power. We'll see how healthy that is. But in regards to regulatory laws, as a licensed national banker, as one of my professions, wherever there's money, it's healthy to have. I knew that regulatory laws would come down the pipe after the crash in 2007, 8, 9 with the real estate. And, that's when loan officers didn't have to be licensed, and now they're licensed. And then it was the short sales, it was the loan modifications. I'm sure you're familiar with that. Then the regulatory laws came down the pipe. And anytime there's big money to be earned or made, or however that perception is, regulatory laws will come down the pipe. And with cryptocurrency, just I see as with that analogy I just used, so many people have gained and lost so much money, the regulatory laws will follow. And I don't think it will crush it just because cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is too powerful to cross the board. And so this relationship, and thank you for addressing that, because one of the things that jumped out at me as a potential that could be an opportunity for, a RIF was that relationship. And so the statement that you made that regardless if that relationship, not foreseeing anything would happen, but if it did, that your licenses would still be intact. And I concur with you 100% that setting proper expectations is always the healthiest way to go. And sometimes, again, when you taste that blood, it's easy not to set those expectations. And I want to thank you for the poise in your demeanor and in your professionalism. And I've had the privilege of watching you a few times now, and you definitely ooze of confidence, and you really have a way about yourself of making me and others feel comfortable. So thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you,
Diamond. My pleasure.
Matt Moore, man. I see Kevin.
Matt Moore. How you doing, my man? Welcome to the panel.
Good. Sorry about that. We're just wrapping up a Zoom on another channel. We're rocking and rolling, man.
I know that's right. Well, appreciate you joining us. Did you have something you want to, close with, or ask some questions to Mr. Travis?
No, I've been trying to gobble up all the content he's putting out, and what a pace setter we have, at least on this side of the world, and actually throughout the whole business. I mean, Viraj is obviously, the pace setter financially and stuff, but Travis is putting out a lot of good content that's helping all of us not only build our business, but better understand what's going on. And one thing I like to caution people is if you feel overwhelmed, if you're hearing a lot of terminology that you're not familiar with, don't feel that way. None of us fully understand this, and we all have to start somewhere. But the fact that you're in this game, that you're playing this game, is a testament to who you are. And I believe the benefits are going to far outweigh your expectations right now. I don't think any of us fully understand the magnitude of this opportunity. I think every failure you've had before, there's a lot of talk of this didn't work, that didn't work. It all puts you in alignment to be here right now, right? Maybe you were in a company that didn't work out and you lost your money, but you met a really good person that's perfect for this business. Or at least you now know what not to do and so on. Or you learned about wallets and whatnot. You are so far ahead of the rest of the company here, let alone the rest of the world. The fact that you know what a trust wallet is, a MetaMask, if you've ever been on PancakeSwap or any of these, again, even if it was a negative experience, it was no different than going to school. How many of us got paid to go to college or university? You paid to go, right? So no different here. You spent your few years or whatever, albeit some of the lessons were quite financially devastating perhaps, and I don't wish that for anybody, but turn that lesson into a blessing And I think all roads lead right here. So I'm excited. My biggest thing that I don't like to hear from people is when you hear, you know, this sounds like, it doesn't sound like anything. I don't let them even finish that statement. That's ridiculous. You know, we're talking about satellites. We're talking about SpaceX. We're talking about some form of partnerships with Google Earth. We're talking about oil wells that we can't even count. You know, the best and worst thing I've ever heard since I've been here was in the same sentence. I asked, you know, hey, you know, you guys have so much oil and all these discoveries. When you find more, can you do a black gold 2.0? And they said no. And I was so mad. It's like, no fair. We weren't here when it was available, you know? But the fact that they said no, I love the fact, because even though there was, like, say 6, 7, I think we have 10 or 11 officially known right now oil wells or sites. You don't have to pay any more when that becomes 600 or 700 in the future, right? So when you're in the club, you're in the club. And, you know, even for people like Travis, and you see them reinvesting. Typically when I'm in a company, you know, I put most of my energy into recruiting. And here, either or is just as good. I always say, get in where you fit in. It's never been more fitting than right here. If you want to be passive, be passive. I'm not going to beat you up until you get on Zooms and make a list and all that stuff. You know, that's all you want to do. And every single person is an important piece of this ecosystem, right? There's people that are putting $1 million in. Now, you could think that was crazy or whatever, but I look at it, if someone has the confidence to put that kind of money in, then I need to take a harder look and understand what's going on. And the other day there was 30 Nat Gs for those that are already in the business, I think, which is most people. It's more of a training than an actual presentation. And I'm like, you know what? Let me get another 1 or 2 of those. And I got busy with a few errands and this and that. And I'm like, all right. Got my 12 grand. Let me, error. Like, sold out. How's it sold out? They just said 2 hours ago I could buy it. Right? We are not understanding the pace. We are not understanding the fever pitch. We are not understanding the vision of others in this business. And there's only so many times you can get that SOL, you know, speech before we all perk up. And last thing I'll say, because, you know, I could talk forever about this thing. The last thing I'll say is, when you're recruiting people, we're always nervous to recruit, especially when we have a chicken list. Why? Because we think the person is going to be mad that we're asking for their money, mad that we're pitching them, mad that we're even taking up their valuable time. And this, I mean, the only thing people should be mad about you for is not telling them sooner, right? I'm more scared about not telling a friend about this than the fear of what we're normally scared of, the rejection, right? Because you don't get any hard no's in this. The few people that have said no to me, it was very reluctant on their part, and their voice is cracking. I'm too busy with what I'm doing. You know what I mean? You know they're not making the kind of money. And even if they are making the money, quite simply, I don't think this needs a huge time investment. And I don't want to get into the hyperbole, and I don't want to seem needy or pushy, but I'm like, bro, just sign up. If you're making XYZ amount of dollars over there, then you certainly have enough to just buy 4 nodes, get a position in my tree, and see how it plays out. You know, you're going to win at that game. It's not like I'm asking you to buy a whole bunch of juice to sit in your garage, or some, you know, air contraption to purify the oxygen in your house. You know, you're buying little assets, right? So you're going to win, or you're going to win big.
I appreciate that, Kevin. Oh my gosh. Guys, we're at the top of the hour. We're having so much fun. We went past the hour. And you know, here at the Legend Show, we like to respect everybody's time. Really appreciate you, Travis, for showing up to grow up for us. This was an awesome overview training, and get to know a little bit more about DebtBox and IX Global and yourself as well. And I think Diamond gave some great questions, great attributes to the call, guys. So I really appreciate everyone here for showing up to grow up. Why don't you unmute yourself and show Mr. Travis some love here, guys. Show him some love. Unmute. Let's see here.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you,
Travis. Guys, so much appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis.
Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Travis.
Thank you.
Thanks
It's
for all the
amazing.
insight, Travis.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Kevin.
Great job, Travis.
Thank you, Mom.
Thanks, Kev.
Peace and blessings, guys. You already know. See you guys at the top. You already know the bottom is way too crowded.
Yes, sir. See you there.
AI Global Legends signing out.
Peace. Peace.